Alright, let's look at these in more detail. I decided to put the commentary afterwards so that anyone who wants just the action without the talking knows when to tune out. So this is a collection of clips from between 2014 and 2020. The earliest footage was from a time when I had a very minimal grasp of proper footwork and efficient biomechanics, which shows, but there's still some interesting moments here. So let's take a look. Minus the sloppy footwork and pause in between, this is still a good technique. Strike to the head with a guard. Here we've got some grappling. Yeah, it's just funny how I jerk him around with half sorting. There's a thrust at the end. There is a disarm, which I managed to pull off because he let go fairly easily, which he didn't there. So it didn't work out the same way. So instead I just grabbed my sword and pulled him around with it. That's kind of slapsticky almost. That was a demonstration, still looks pretty good. And here is a painful hit. Fortunately, he was wearing a cup at the time. He learned his lesson after this incident, where he wasn't. That's a very painful lesson to learn. Yikes. And here, I just basically dropped the sword on his head because it was such a heavy two-handed sword. It was still effective, he felt it. So he managed to catch my strike with his dagger and then thrust afterwards. So again, this is not proper rapier and dagger form, but we were just trying to figure things out then. But that's a nice one. He managed to actually stop the sword cut with the dagger in reverse grip. And there's a little rogue maneuver. Caught Blake on the left side off guard with that throw and then followed up with a thrust. And there, Wyatt tried again to parry with the dagger, but the two-handed sword blew straight through. It's just very difficult to stop that with a dagger. But he was quick on his feet and thrust right away. And there you can see it fail even more spectacularly, where the longsword just flows it right out of his hand. And again, he is quick to counter thrust, so that worked out in his favor. So there I had taken a hit to my other arm, so I could only use the hammer with one hand. And, well, it still worked out, because it hits hard enough. So that strike with the hammer knocked the sword almost out of his hand. It was basically just barely dangling from his hand. He had to readjust. He lifted the front leg just in time when I was hooking it. So I managed to pull him off his feet with that, which is pretty cool. It's one of the funniest scenes we've had. Generally, the earlier sparring footage has more funny stuff. Particularly this, where both ends of the hammer just popped off. And I tried the rogue maneuver there as well, but it didn't work out the same way. And weapon failure. This is why you don't get the cheap wooden dowels from the hardware store for this. Crack right in half. So again, hammer versus longsword. I got him pretty hard with that one. This is not the safest thing ever. In fact, some of the stuff we did back then was not enormously high on the safety scale. I mean, it was safe enough, but yeah, again, a very devious maneuver. Throw the dagger to distract him, and then there comes the hammer strike, but he still caught me on the back, so that was not great for me. So you got the power of the pole hammer. Knocks the sword right out of your hand. Again, I had my right arm taken out, so this is difficult to swing with one arm, but I did what I could. And it kind of worked out. Kinda. Until he decided to be devious again. There are situations where you can actually get away with a sword throw. You just need to be prepared that if it doesn't work, you're screwed because you're defenseless.
You okay, Warren?
Yeah. Hammers. Not terribly safe. Even with the mask, you can easily give someone a concussion. So honestly, I would not recommend using something like this in sparring. Such a crazy exchange that ended in a double kill. Boom. Yikes. Fun though. And there's Lee Smith and Richard Marsden doing a thrust at the same time. Richard's connected and Lee's passed him by, but it looks like he read him through. That's a really neat thrust done here against me, right when I came around for the cut, but the cut still connects. That's the problem with that. There I got stuck.
Get him! Why did you stop?
This is what I like to call an oh shit defense, where the countercut came so quickly that all I could do is just raise up and have it next to my body, just use it as passive armor almost. And there's a gauntlet failure. It just slipped off. So Richard tried a fancy maneuver there. It didn't work, but he very smoothly recovered. So that makes it look quite nice. There's a longer exchange, which looks quite good. Still very happy with that. And yeah, grappling against a mountain. He's not the mountain, but yeah, grappling against an opponent that's so much heavier and stronger than you is a losing proposition. This is one of the best thrusts I've landed. Just snuck past his guard just the right time and was perfectly covered. There's an exchange with Messers. It actually landed with the flat of my blade, which is an invalid hit, but it also connected with the grip of the Messer, so that was protection anyway. Here's a feint designed to draw up the guard and then bypass it. Single-handed Messer against longsword is difficult, but I've managed to get into grappling range and bonk him on the head with the flat of the blade. Would have been better with the edge, but hey, it's something. Quick exchange with basket-hilt swords. I feint, then I cut to the other side, which he just catches in time. Counters, which I deflect. Then he cuts again, which I barely catch on the blade. So just a lot of close calls. This thrust turned out perfectly. A covered thrust that bound the opponent's blade, and then you did a quick single-handed thrust. I cut at the same time. This was interesting. The guard came in handy, otherwise my blade would have caught his hand. There, I just about evaded that thrust with lateral movement. That was a perfect thrust to stop what I was trying at the time. It's a longer exchange. That's always nice. And this kind of hit, but I think it was just a mask, so it's not valid. There we've got the hazards of wet, slippery grass. And we've got another case of the sword being almost knocked out of the hands. It was just about holding on to it, and I didn't notice it in time. If I had rushed him more quickly, I would have gotten him there. That's a quick poke to the knee, which was just slightly out of measure, but looks funny. There would have been a chance to actually throw the sword, because he was backpedaling quickly. I was trying to catch him. Anyway, so hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for watching, and have a good one, folks.